Welcome to Certain Point of View's Another Pass podcast. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. Just go to certainpov.com.
Thank you for tuning in to Another Pass podcast from Certain Point of View. I'm Casey Aiken, your host, and tonight with me is Ben Milton and Addy Thomas.
Hey
guys.
And today we're going to be talking about The Dark Knight Rises. It's one of those movies that is not quite as good as the one we talked about last week. I would argue that it's
a crappy movie is what this one is.
Oh, it's hard to say that. It's It's disappointing is the real term.
Disappointing, definitely, because there are aspects of it that are so promising in this movie.
Yeah. Now, I wasn't trying to lead off our show just talking about the ending of trilogies and how they don't live up to the middle chapter every time.
But it happens a lot.
But it's going to happen, and we got other ones on the docket. But right now, yeah, like Dark Knight Rises, man, that's disappointing. Batman Begins was so good, and The Dark Knight is so good, and it was so unique at its time. And then this movie is not, and it's painful for that.
And The Dark Knight is the gold standard, is practically become the gold standard by which all other superhero movies tend to be judged.
I don't know if it's really the standard.
It has been for
a
long time, but it's starting to change, I think.
I think that, well, because the thing is, The Dark Knight came out the same summer as Iron Man.
Right.
And Iron Man, I think, is really the movie that set the tone for how modern superhero movies are done. Right. I think The Dark Knight shows the most you can do for the old model of superhero movies. Like, Batman Begins felt like a similar movie to other movies so far. Like, Batman Begins felt cut from the same cloth, but a different director doing it as the first Batman movie, or like the '89 Batman movie. Like,
yeah, but don't you think that, like, with Nolan's like dark and gritty, like, we hadn't really seen that.
The Tim Burton Batman movie is doing the dark and gritty Batman. Like, that was the
very
selling point
cartoony. It's still very cartoony.
I mean, you got
I mean, it's Tim
like
Burton,
waving his cloak and like people just falling over. You know,
well, the fact that it's Tim Burton and the fight choreography is awful and all that jazz, like, sure, that's all there. But, like, we also had, like, 90s Spawn. Like, there were a bunch of 90s dark movies. Like they were doing dark comic book movies. And actually, there were some amazing dark comic book movies from, like, indie books at the time, which I don't know when they're going to do another indie book. But they, like, they did Wanted, which was not good, but at least it was based on a dark book.
You got
and
V for Vendetta and you have Watchmen.
V for Vendetta. Watchmen was post Dark Knight.
Yeah, it was around the same time. It was close.
Oh, you know what? You're right. It was about the same year, actually.
Yeah.
I think. No,
300 was around the
300.
same time.
Yeah, 300 came out before that. Like Road to Perdition came out before that, which is one of my gold standards of how good a comic book adaptation can be. But that's because no one knows it's a comic book movie.
That's how you can tell it's a good adaptation when nobody knows it's a comic book.
Well, that's because it's based on a fairly obscure comic book that's based on a well-known manga. But
it's a good story. That's at the end of the day.
It's a really good story.
It's a good story.
Yeah,
and that's what falls apart in Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, it does.
It's an awful story.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Like, the Dark Knight was everything Christopher Nolan ever wanted to say about the nature of heroism in the modern world. Like, Batman Begins was about how a person can rise up, but Dark Knight was him being like, we're going to take a crazy person and test a man of valor. Like, Christopher Nolan movies are always about, like, men who are, objective and, like, willing to keep on moving forward and do things because they're competent and great, and that's how humanity is going to prevail. And, like, using Batman as sort of like the apex of that, like, The Dark Knight was showing, like, how far can you push a man and how great an adversary can he face and still be a hero and, like, still come out of it on the side of right. Maybe not on the side of law, but on the side of right.
Right.
And Dark Knight Rises doesn't do any of that. Like, here's the thing. When I saw Dark Knight Rises, I came out of it, and my first reaction was like, that wasn't that great. But my second reaction was, but at least they didn't just do The Dark Knight Returns. And then when I woke up the next morning, I was like, fuck, they did just do The Dark Knight Returns. God damn it. It actually is pretty close when you think about it. All they did was they sort of took other comic book references and overlaid it.
The fake death in Dark Knight Returns is a whole lot better. Let me just put it that way.
Oh, yeah. So, like, I go back and forth on The Dark Knight Returns because it was so good at the time when it came out, and, like, they're
Didn't
great.
you and I go see that opening weekend together?
We saw Dark Knight
at the Uptown.
We saw Dark Knight together.
We saw Dark Knight together.
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw Dark Knight Rises with me.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
no,
right.
I saw.
Yeah, that's
I,
right.
I thought it was
You
really
came out of
good.
it.
No,
Yes, that's right.
I saw Dark Knight Rises as part of an AMC movie night where they did all three Batman
three
movies
together.
up
You
until
did
the
this-
midnight screening. And they had just done this with Avengers a few months earlier, and that was amazing. And I was like so pumped for this one because I'm like, but you know what? I love the Avengers movies, but you know what's also awesome? Batman.
Right.
And after this is when I started talking about how Batman's a Klansman. No, because here's the thing. Like, I think the story that they try to do with Batman is one where they do it twice. Like, they do how Batman gets his groove back at the beginning, and then he does it again,
Which is always a big problem with that movie.
They never really do a good job with Bane. Like, they use Bane, and no one likes to use Bane, but they use Bane because he's like a fan favorite from the 90s, and people wanted to use a name character.
Well, I thought they put a good twist on him, tying him to the League of Shadows.
Oh, I absolutely would have done that. That's not the problem. The fact that they don't do any Bane things with him, it's just the name, I think is the bigger
Breaking
problem.
the back? You don't consider a Bane thing?
Sorry,
That's
what
the
I mean is more
only
of
thing.
like
They don't deal with the Venom and all that other stuff.
Yeah, like people were like, "Oh, he's not big enough." I'm like, "Well, what if he gets a little bit bigger when he does it?" You know what would have worked fine is if that mask had like a stimulant that like shot into him, and all of a sudden he was like a little bit more aggressive.
Right.
Like he doesn't need to grow. He does if it's the realistic world, but like still have a nod so that
Some
the character
steroid of
is
some
still there. Because right now he's just the mutant leader from Dark Knight Rises, or pardon me, Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, and he didn't have and if he at least had a line like this is my operating table,
Yeah.
then I would have totally nerded out for that. Oh, God. Every time I think about this movie, I just get so depressed.
well, because there's so many good pieces, like,
Yeah.
but there's all these big logic gaps, and they don't work the same way that like Dark Knight had big logic gaps that we were okay with because the movie just moved and it like,
Right.
you know, that opening heist with the Joker is so cool, but it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, wait, the bus like pulls in, that guy just didn't shoot him. Why is any of this happening that way? Like, none of that makes any sense. But it's like sets up, oh, the Joker's a brilliant strategist, yeah. Like the thing is, the League of Shadows stuff kind of is the plot that I would have done the second Batman movie for. Like, when Batman Begins, I was like, I hope the next movie is Bane and maybe Deathstroke, and there are two super assassins coming from the League of Shadows, and then we can move past the League of Shadows and move on to other Batman stuff. Like, this movie, it's sort of like, oh, here's this thing from your, I guess you could say it's like, here's the thing from your childhood.
I did like. I kind of
Yeah.
like that callback to the League of Shadows and bringing that kind of full circle to close that at the end of the trilogy. I thought that was kind of a good idea.
That they finally come back to him or something.
Yeah, because for me, the thing is, this trilogy had always been pointing to, and we just watched that super trailer, and the whole idea was like, and they even talk about it in that last movie, is this idea of Batman being a symbol. This Batman is a terrible detective. This Batman is not even a good action hero, to be perfectly honest.
No, the fight choreography is not that much better than it was in the Tim Burton movie.
Right.
No.
But this Batman is a crusader. Like, you know, it's grounded in that ideal of him becoming a symbol to inspire Gotham. He was never setting out to be this for the rest of his life. You know, right at the end of at the end of Batman Begins, there's this idea that he could stop being Batman, but that everything was sort of working against him, that he always had to be this guy.
I completely agree.
And this and so that's why I like the idea of the League of Shadows coming back to sort of like test his resolve in being Batman, to have to come out of retirement. I actually like the idea of him having to come out of retirement. They shouldn't have done it twice. Absolutely. Like the whole idea of him like coming out once and then having the magic knee brace and then having a few pretty lame action scenes, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then the one action scene I do like is the breaking of his back. I really
That
like
was
that
really
scene.
well done.
And not having any music with it, I think it was a great decision. It worked for me. I love Bane's voice in that movie, and I love the whole, you know, you were adopted by the darkness, I was born in it, like that.
Oh yeah, I was fine with that. Like
were-
we'd make jokes about him, but like,
Yeah.
I think
I
that was
really
all
like
fine.
Bane's the one thing I would keep in this movie.
And I even like the whole 99%, you know, Occupy Wall Street thing that's kind of going on in the discussion. 'Cause, like, The Dark Knight had the discussion going on with, like, a little bit in the background of the story. They had the whole thing about the surveillance state. And then you had this
Yeah, and there was like the
movie-
hints about Joker being a soldier.
Right.
Like, yeah, like it was very much. I mean, they're movies that comment on their time, and
Right, and this
it's hard to get away from that.
movie
but-
had a lot of the whole, especially with Catwoman. You had the whole Occupy Wall Street
Yeah.
discussion,
And they shot it down at Wall Street. I had friends who were extras in that, and they weren't allowed to shave because they're playing cops.
Right.
Which then, when you actually see the movie, none of them look like they have beards.
But it's disappointing because all that Occupy Wall Street versus the 1% story never goes anywhere. It starts
Just like
Yeah.
the real movement.
Right.
Man, if it was meta commentary about how they figure everything's going to fizzle out just like Batman. No, like, all right, so let's actually do like a pitch for the things to fix. Like, I think, like,
for me, the big thing that's got to change is Batman's got to die at the end of this movie. That's what disappointed me. For me, I think I could forgive a lot of these things because they even tease it throughout the entire movie. Is this idea of like he has that conversation with Catwoman. It's like, you don't owe these people anything, and it's not. He says, I haven't given them everything, and his quote isn't, I haven't given them my fake death. It's
right. No, I
completely
completely agree with you. That's one of the two things I would have like overwhelmingly changed.
Yeah.
The other one's the opening for me, which is that I don't think Batman should have been retired because I think that betrays the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Like, and it betrays the Batman we've been given so far, but it betrays the ending of the Dark Knight. I felt like the Dark Knight ends where he's going to go off and he's going to be a symbol. He is going to take on the burden of being this like crazy vigilante, even though the people in the know he's actually really good, but he's still going to go off and be Batman. Like, I never felt like he was retiring at the end of the Dark Knight. I thought he was going off to continue being the Dark Knight, like in the shadows, striking and making things good.
Yeah.
And at the opening of this movie, it's like, oh no, that was literally when he retired. Like, it's not like it's years later, but it's not like it's like, oh, he went on for another 5 years and then retired. Now he's old. Like, it's like 10 years later or something. I think is the exact limit, something like that. It's like not a big
like
time
8
jump.
years, I think.
Yeah, and which leads to some weird scenes where people are like, "Oh, I've never like Batman. I can't believe he's like still alive." And like hold on to your seats, kid. Like, I was on the force back in the day when he was around.
8 years ago, guys.
Yeah, these are the moments where it feels like they did the Dark Knight Returns, but that should have been more like a 20-year time jump instead of like Christian Bale still looks like a young man. Like,
Yeah, except for he has to wear a knee brace now.
yeah, like Batman should have just been going. Like Addy mentioned, we watched that like supercut of the trailers for the Dark Knight movies, Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and Dark Knight Rises, and it's so good. Like, there's really nice symbolism and everything, but it never once do they talk about him retiring between Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. Like, it just feels like, no, he keeps going. Like, it's the problem of he faces in Dark Knight is that he thinks he's got the status quo and then the Joker shows up and it escalates. In this case, it really should be like he thinks he's got the status quo and Bane shows up and totally destroys him. Like, Joker is a mental threat, Bane is a mental and physical threat.
Right.
And then he should have been broken and gone for years. Like, the time jump, the only big time jump that should have happened was between his back being broken and then somehow him like pushing, like having his back re-broken into working again. Like, whatever happens there.
Chiropractor.
I have an idea for that.
Chiropractor?
I have an idea for that.
Yeah.
I like the idea of his back being broken, and I like the idea of and I would strip this movie down to just Bane. I'd get rid of Talia and I'd get rid of Selena. You don't need them in this movie. Like, we have like this, there's this weird idea in Hollywood that pisses me off so much. Like, we had a movie with one really successful movie with one villain, so now we need 2 villains. Okay, well, we just had a movie with 2 villains. Now there's got to be 4 villains. Otherwise, this isn't going to work. We've got to escalate the stakes. No, you have to tell a goddamn compelling story. And if you can do that with one villain and one character, do that. You don't need to keep cramming all this extra shit in there just to cram it in there.
I would agree.
All right, so anyway, so Bane does what he does, captures Gotham, breaks Batman's back, but instead of sending him to this weird pit thing, he sends him to Arkham and imprisons him for crimes against Gotham in Arkham, because essentially, because now he's running Gotham and Batman's a criminal, and so he locks him in Gotham. And then he wages war on Gotham and Wayne Enterprises. Lucius, Alfred, and Gordon enlist Tim Drake to help break Batman out of Arkham. And now Lucius has since actually followed through on his promise in the last movie and quit Wayne Enterprises over the whole super spy equipment stuff. And like, I'm not going to do this because, it's...
So you got to bring him out of retirement?
No, he's gone to work with LexCorp.
Ooh.
And so he now has access to the Superman suit that Lex... It's a prototype.
Wait, but you just said you didn't want to have multiple villains and shit.
I don't. But he has access to the prototype of the super suit for Lex's Superman fighting
How about
suit.
instead of Bane breaking his back, he gets shrapnel in his heart, and then he has to figure out this.
Close to that.
And then
but that's what he
chemical
has.
spill, and he's blind, guys.
And then he gets it with gamma rays. No, but he uses that. So he uses that prototype suit. So now you've expanded your universe into LexCorp and Superman and that whole thing.
Okay.
And you've given him the tool in order to fight Bane fairly. But in the he's never able to recover from his broken back, and so he either dies or is completely incapacitated by Bane in this fight, allowing then the Batman symbol to live on through Tim Drake, who picks up the mantle of Batman at the end of the movie.
Yeah. On that note, Joseph Gordon-Levitt should have just
No.
been Tim Drake or
Should have been
Dick
a
Grayson.
Batman.
Like,
Right,
it should have been.
right. Yeah,
Like, why were they? Like, what was his name again? Oh God.
Shitswitz as well.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter. It's like, oh, my real name is Robin.
Wasn't it like John Blake or something? Like
Something like that,
really
yeah.
ambiguous.
Really, yeah.
Like he could have been like
Anybody.
yeah.
Yeah, that was disappointing. That they
And then
didn't
his real
just
name
did.
was what?
Was Robin.
Yeah, it was Robin.
His real name was Robin.
Yeah, that was awful.
Stupid.
So,
was
you should
really
go by
bad.
that. It's cute.
It's cute. Yeah, that's why he doesn't go by it.
Yeah. So I think like that solves that problem though of the broken back and him coming back and him dying at the end.
Every time we talk about elements of this movie, I think of more complaints I have in this. Like, 'cause
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like that
Oh, it's
orphan
just-
look in your eye,
Oh,
and
that
I
was
knew
such-
you were Batman.
It was such bullshit.
Oh wait, but he knows
He's a
it.
better detective than Batman.
Yes.
But Commissioner Gordon is like Bruce Wayne.
What? Around a kid?
Like I thought that was just I thought he just knew and he just never said it. Which was like the whole thing. I mean that was kind of a Frank Miller idea, but like I dug that idea and it felt like that was the thing they ran with the first two movies. And then all of a sudden it's like Bruce Wayne? What?
Yeah.
Whoa. Like yeah, exactly. And like the take. I mean this
It was so hokey.
This kind of
Gary
feels like the
Gary
Schumacher
Oldman's like-
version of the first two movies, where it's like, let's just go as campy as we can.
Call back.
The other thing is, like, you see.
P.S. Schumacher Batman movies were ahead of their time.
Yeah, well,
They're not good, but I
Nope.
know what he was going for.
Nope. Never forgive that man.
Batman has zero ingenuity in this movie.
Agreed.
You know, there's clever things he does it, like in Batman Begins. Like, I mean, yes, it's Batman.
Batman Begins, he's a ninja, which
Right.
isn't necessarily that he's a detective, but he at least is like effective
Batman
at what he
with
does.
the
He has cool
Batsummon
ideas.
moment,
Yeah, well,
that
yeah.
was great. That's a great moment. I
From-
love.
Yeah,
you know.
from Batman Year One. Yeah,
Right, exactly. You know, and then I like the idea of, you know, the cell phone technology and surveillance state stuff in The Dark Knight, you know, just with the nature of what was going on with the threat. But there's nothing like there was like, all right, well, we got the Batwing guys in this movie, and it was like,
Yeah.
it
Like,
didn't
where the hell
really-
did that come from?
Yeah, and it didn't
You've
really
been in
do much.
retirement.
Yeah, and the
And we have it hidden
and
under
the
a tarp,
autopilot doesn't
and
work,
like-
guys. Remember, every 5 minutes we have to be reminded that the autopilot doesn't work.
Because why the fuck would you need autopilot in that thing?
I can think of a lot of
Bring it to
reasons
you.
for autopilot.
Yeah, no, you need autopilot for that. Where do you have a parking space for that thing? You need
You don't
autopilot.
autopilot.
Hey, where do you
park?
refill that thing?
What are you talking about? Why do you have it? You've been in retirement.
Well, Lucius was working on it. He doesn't have it. Lucius worked on it and showed
Oh.
him, the autopilot doesn't work.
Okay,
But,
Lucius.
but apparently Bruce fixes the autopilot.
Because, you know,
Yeah.
he's an engineer.
That would have been
What?
cool.
Yeah,
You know what?
exactly.
You know what would have been cool if Lucius Fox went off and was working on something else, and that was his like. Batman goes and finds him, and they refit something else Lucius worked on at a different company, or for the U.S. government. Like it doesn't. I mean,
LexCorp.
LexCorp would be cool, but
Yeah.
here, like okay, so like one of the rules of these like repitches is like we can't be talking about like the movies as they are now. We have to be talking about movies as they were happening then.
Right.
Like,
and this was clearly not going to ever involve.
well, but that's the thing. There are weird elements of it. Like this is a it is a post Avengers movie, literally, but it's a post like Marvel Phase 1 movie, like very much so.
Right.
And
Could have easily spun this off.
well,
into its own
there are
universe.
those elements. Like they're like the fact that they use Bane and that they have. Your name is Robin. They have these moments in there. It's Nolan finally kind of like playing nice with fans, whereas he really didn't want to for the first two movies, or especially The Dark Knight. Like
Well, he threw Zaz into the first into Batman.
yeah,
Begins.
well, that's because Goyer had more of a writing credit on the first
that's
one. Than,
true.
yeah, like Goyer was always going to do that.
Yeah.
Goyer writing and then being tempered by
Somebody else.
Yeah, by someone else is usually the way to go. Like Goyer by
Right.
himself,
Yeah.
but Goyer with like Christopher Nolan like trying to make a good movie, like that actually works
that's
out
a
pretty
good
well.
combination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This could devolve into Goyer anecdotes. Moving on. So the thing is, Batman. I felt we betrayed the Batman that that we had up until that point. I felt that the villain that they present isn't really a worthy villain for what we want him to face. I think that they try to present him as being what Bane is, which is he's both smart and physically tough, and like how can Batman beat someone who's both as smart as him and stronger than him physically? We force too similar of an arc in the middle of the movie that happened at the beginning, and then all these stretches for how Batman gets back, and all the like Lucius Fox could have been the answer for how Batman gets back, and that Batwing could have been the answer for how he gets back.
Well, don't put him in the freaking pit. The pit was unnecessary.
Like
I'm
the
fine with
pitch,
the pit.
the thing is like we said, we were just talking about the supercut trailer, like him climbing up or his dad like descending from the well and pulling him up, and then cutting to him climbing up the well. You really see that symbolism of like like ascending to the light, which is like a very Christopher Nolan kind of shot, and it's very much a part of who Batman is. Like his father coming from the light, descending on, is sort of is Batman. Like the fact that there's a bat that flies by in that movie, like in the shots of that in Batman Begins. That's who Batman is. Batman isn't the bat. Batman is the person coming. There's a swarm of bats and it's scary. And then there's this man who's like going to save you, descending on a rope to like bring you back up into the light. Like that's Batman to Batman.
That's what he thinks he is, but he's really just nuts.
That's what I just said. That's what Batman is to Batman.
To
like,
himself.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
thinks he's his dad.
Or he's trying to live up to his dad, like saving the day from the scary bats.
Well, because that's a big moment in Batman Begins is when grown-up Bruce Wayne is down in the caves and and the swarm of bats like surrounds him and he stands up in the middle of them, like, and that's a pretty triumphant moment, and this was supposed to
having him climb up that's a cool scene. It doesn't make any sense.
No, not at all.
You know what would have been better
if
he was being forced to live inside of Wayne Manor, like if he was being trapped in his own cave. Like if Bane broke in, beat him down, and then they were like keeping him alive down there, like imprisoned in his own house.
That would have been cool. I think that would have been really good.
Rather than burning down Wayne Manor, which was stupid. Like, why does rock crumble because it's fire?
Yeah, that didn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense at all.
Wait, hold on. We're not bitching about the first movie.
Yeah.
Like we're
I love the first
We're bitching
movie.
about the
I think
third
it's the
one
best
right
of
now.
the
Thank
third.
you.
It's all blurring together. It's all blurring together.
Yeah, but Wayne Manor, apparently, like clearly fake, like manipulation of stocks couldn't be undone by the
Yeah,
the
like
FTC.
no one would ever notice. It's like, oh, all of a sudden Batman just sold, or pardon me, Bruce Wayne sold all of his money. Woo! Right after like the stock market gets attacked. Like no, nothing. Like none of that would have been allowed. Like the stock markets wouldn't have been open the next day.
Right.
Yeah, and he would have got all of his money back.
Yeah, immediately. All of the money stuff is like ridiculous, and
Yeah.
and other people have done it. Like Crack just did a video I think a week ago talking about how dumb it was. Like
it was totally unnecessary because even like you don't have to take away his assets for Bane to outsmart him. In fact, letting him continue to have it just
Is
gives
smarter.
more credit
Yeah.
to Bane. But they almost like, and I think that's a problem with this movie is they nerf Bane a lot for the sake of Talia al Ghul's reveal, and it felt like, and the Talia al Ghul reveal is a big problem for me because for many reasons. But that's one moment where I feel like Nolan became a little too enamored with some of his gimmicks. Like it really felt like, oh, I did this. I was able to pull off something in The Prestige. I think I can pull off this as well. And Talia, like, it just doesn't make sense for Talia to, like, not take her vengeance at any point earlier. And not just that. Like, you have the broken back, and you put it in the pit. So did she already know that Batman was going to come back from that? Because she waits to reveal herself until he comes back to Gotham.
Yeah,
like,
no, that probably should have been the reveal earlier.
And why didn't she just kill him while she's having sex with him in Wayne Manor?
There's all this
I'm
dumb
fine,
stuff.
Yeah, I'm fine with her letting him stay alive and watching Gotham crumble.
No. Her whole idea was to torture and kill him. She wanted him dead.
Not...
She wanted revenge for her father's murder. She wanted him dead.
I don't think anything she does makes sense.
Yeah.
We all knew Talia was coming. Like that was no surprise.
There's...
You can't do a Ra's al Ghul movie, or pardon me, Ra's al Ghul. God damn it.
I know they
messed me up now.
Yeah,
I just said it wrong. It's Ra's al Ghul. You can't do a Ra's al Ghul movie without having Talia. Like that's ridiculous. Why would you like? It's like doing. I'm trying to think of like the best example. It's like doing a Robin movie without Batman. Is frankly what it is. It's like,
That would be the biggest disappointment ever.
no, but like if you want to strip Batman of everything, like all of his assets, and make him like prove himself, like have him be revealed as Bruce Wayne and have him be a criminal.
All you gotta do, yeah.
Like
Right.
have like
And
the
they
movie
could
could
have
open.
done that. They could have done that using the previous movie, spy technology. If Bane had been able to get his hands on that technology and use it to find out who Bruce Wayne is, and out him,
his sins, all of his sins coming back to haunt him.
Yes.
And they did some cool stuff like that where he uses the sins of like them trying to cover up, Harvey
Two-Face.
Dent's death and stuff like that.
God damn, that was a disaster.
I like the idea of
And there
that
wasn't
in
that much he was
principle.
really covering up. He was just sort of taking the fall for the other two kills, and then Harvey Dent fell to his death. Isn't that nuts? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fucking disaster.
yeah,
Yeah.
The use of it all was very weird, and they were trying to make some like overly broad statements about like the Patriot Act, but
Right.
but where it's
That
like
didn't really work.
like Harvey Dent Day or whatever inside one city, martial law is going on, and yet the rest of the world has no problems. Whatever. Like Gotham City is a kingdom unto itself, and like here's all the things. And Batman's its Dark Knight, and Gordon is its king. Like what? None of that makes sense.
None of this makes any sense. Where is the National Guard?
Where?
They were outside, remember?
Where is any of this shit?
right. Okay.
Oh yeah,
really bad.
from the sovereign state of the United States against the sovereign state of Gotham City.
Yeah.
Well,
Bane will
once
hold
you
him
blow up, once you blow up Heinz Field, I think they took it seriously.
You blow up a bridge, apparently the National Guard is useless.
Well,
They
they
can't
didn't
do
blow up
anything.
the bridge.
Yeah, they did. They blew up the bridges.
No, they didn't.
Oh, they only blew up the Heinz Field at that point?
Yeah.
When did they blow up the bridges?
I don't think they actually
And,
did.
and out
No,
of the
they
city.
do.
They do. They blow up the bridges.
We
in and
just
out of
watched the
city.
supercut trailer where they show the scenes of
I
it.
thought they just had they had like a blockade on the bridge. Because if you remember, they even run.
No, he
'cause
blows up
remember
the.
They tried getting John Blake on the bus to get the orphans out of the city.
I do remember that.
Yeah. So there's another thing.
Oh
that
no, it
doesn't
must have
make
been
any
later then. So
Because the bridge wasn't
travel-
down.
No, because that's at the end. John Blake and the kids
that's
are at the
very
end.
end of the movie.
So maybe it was one of the bridges, and he allowed
Yeah,
one to
maybe
stay.
they just left one
That
bridge.
doesn't make any sense.
I don't remember. Ah!
The one road out of Gotham was.
We can't keep track of how this movie goes because it doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Did he
There's-
wait? Did the
this is a
Joker blow up bridges?
No.
Because he forced them to use the ferries. Remember?
No, he threatened that there were bombs on the bridges, so they were using the ferry.
I thought he blew up the bridges and they had to use the ferry. Well, I don't know. This.
Wow!
This is a fucking
Holy hell! How did this
disaster of a
happen? Like,
movie.
Yeah, because
is
we
just
saw.
a
It
disaster.
looked like, 'cause
wait,
that
how do I
shot
not
looked
remember
like
this? I
Dark Knight
just
Rises.
rewatched Dark Knight. Like,
I'm positive.
I'm
Bane
positive.
Blew up,
I think you're right.
I'm positive.
I think
Bane
it was
blew up
Dark Knight
bridges.
Rises.
Yeah.
I'm positive Bane blew up bridges.
Yeah.
He maybe didn't blow up them all up, which doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
If you're gonna blow up bridges and isolate,
There was at least one bridge though that was still operational.
yeah,
because that's the one that Batman stands on top of when he crawls out of the pit and miraculously gets back to Gotham City in 48 hours.
yeah. Again, that should have been a big time jump. Like the opening of the movie should have been not as far forward in the future and Batman should have been like going on about his business being Batman, and then Bane shows up and fucks everything up, and then like screws up Gotham real bad. And it could be like Cataclysm, to tie in other Batman stories where like Gotham gets cut off from the rest of America. In this case, it's because of super bad terrorist acts instead of like an earthquake, and then follow like a couple years later, and it's like this weird wreckage where they can't even pin down where Bane is. He's like Osama bin Laden moving around inside the city, so they can't like do a strike force to take him out. And it's like so weird. Like, what is the national politics of a terrorist holding a city hostage?
And that's another
Yeah.
question. Like we know what happens with Scarecrow. Right? Where's Joker?
well,
That was a conscious decision. Like they didn't
Yeah,
want.
but he should be there. Like he's
There's
in the
talking
city.
about-
I mean, yeah. But
I
Heath
get it. Heath Ledger's
dead.
death. I
Let's
get
not-
it. But he should be there. You should see signs of the Joker. You should see. You don't have to see him.
Yeah,
But he
that's a
should-
tough
Yeah,
one
just
to-
He's got to be in play. He's got to.
if there was
in
just
play.
graffiti of the Joker in
Yeah.
places.
He's got to be in play.
right.
Yeah, but he can't be so in play because then you're wondering why aren't we seeing him more, or why isn't he the real threat?
But that's again that's the problem with this plot idea of taking over Gotham City and then releasing everybody out of Arkham. If you're gonna release everybody out of
Yeah.
Arkham, everybody's in fucking play. I'm sorry, like that's
What
the
it-
deal.
I mean, what if he break?
Didn't they say if for this movie that he had been? I know it's a crappy reason, but he was like transferred to like Iron Heights or something like that. Like
I
he
don't
was
know.
in
I
another
don't think they
place.
even outright say
I
it.
thought. Well, not in the movie itself, but I thought there was like like publicity. Or
Yeah,
something
I mean,
like that before
there was a lot of talk about it, and apparently Nolan had wanted to do stuff with Heath
absolutely.
Again and have him be a central figure. Like, I think if you wanted to make, I mean, I don't know how much this is in taste, but if you wanted to make Bane a really badass and he blows up Arkham
Have him
and frees
kill
up
Joker?
like have him just drop the body and you never even see his face, but drop like clearly like the green
Joker
hair
hair.
like into the water or something, and it like floats away or something like that. Like,
Oh, that would be so
to
badass.
restore order.
yeah,
Kills
like
Joker
to show that he
establishes dominance of
Yeah.
the city. Oh shit, that would be awesome.
Because
I
you also
totally
have
would
him
have
as a
bought
dark
that.
Yeah,
savior in a way, and the whole idea.
yeah,
of
like
the League
I've
of
broken
Shadows
your
restoring
knight and now
order.
I've killed your jester, and throws him into the water.
Oh, so good.
I like that a lot.
That would
Like,
be great.
Like those could be some cool moments. And then, like I said, like Osama the shit out of him. Like have him be moving around
Yeah.
like inside the city. They never know where he's based, and so like teams are trying to move around.
Constantly
but he's got
by
like
innocent people.
yeah, exactly. Like you could make Bane a legitimate threat. You could even fucking keep Talia as like someone who he works with, like who is like
As a
on
wild
the
card.
outside, like
His contact
the-
back to the League of Shadows.
exactly. But also like is the public face on the other side, but not in the city. Like
Well, because they kind of did it a little bit where, like, they don't really, build on it or really, execute it properly. But like, he's almost like the face of, the 99%, and she's kind of working on the side of the billionaires and the 1%.
right,
and
yeah, she's supposed to be the
manipulating
nice
two.
face. Like
Right.
she's the only voice of reason and compassion in Wayne
Right.
Enterprise. Yeah,
That was garbage.
Well, I think there's an interesting idea there. It's just not done
Well executed.
yeah.
yeah, exactly. There's so many good ideas and well shot scenes and like all
Yeah.
these things in this movie. It's just not a good movie.
What did you guys feel about the idea of Gotham rising up
That to
on
me was
itself?
that was the most important part of it for me. Like
The policeman rise, you mean at the end?
And when the and the
I
people
wanted to
at the-
see. I like the idea of the police and the people rising. The execution of that again in a big like Pickett's charge type moment doesn't make any damn sense. But you could move like in a city. Why are you having a charge? You could have
guerrilla warfare.
yeah. You can have them still rise. You can I kind of imagined like when I remember seeing those trailers like and you saw the big fight in the street. Like I thought and you even saw the confrontation with Bane versus Batman in the street. Like I would think that's where they have their final fight. But Bane wins. Bane breaks him and kills him there. Reveals him as Bruce Wayne to the people, but the people take back Gotham. That it's finally
That could've been badass.
That's finally this is finally
Like-
the moment that they rise.
Like,
on their
I was
own
okay with-
outside of their apathy.
You see, I was okay with Batman dying by way of like him getting like having to like winning almost, and then like the bomb at the very end, and he
Yeah.
tries to get away and it blows up.
The
Like
bomb-
I'd be okay with that. Like Venture Brothers did a really good parody of that in
Yeah.
Aldous and Gargantua 2. Where like at the very end a character like sacrifices himself and everyone's like he's gonna get away in the last moment, and then it just like goes off and Brock's like nope.
The bomb never works for me, and this is not Nolan's fault. But this is I
Oh,
always
it's
think
dumb,
of
and it was,
Batman
like, the-
66. Like
Sometimes you can never get rid of a bomb.
I just wish there were like ducks that went by at some point or something, and like a bunch of nuns and like different like places where he had to avoid.
But
them.
I think we agree that Batman needed to be pushed to his limit and had to like willingly sacrifice himself. Now, if that's in a fight or to like carry a bomb far enough away, it doesn't really matter. Like it's the willing sacrifice that needs to be the thing for him, because he needs to
the
be pushed to
total
his
payoff of
that
that story.
that is who Batman is. It's not, oh, I like took a fall for someone and now I'm like I can't really go out in public anymore. Like it should have been he's broken and then he thinks he's broken and then he finally like forces himself back together, and then that's the moment where like because Batman is just drive and determination at this point. Like
Well, that's what this Batman
that's
is.
what this Batman
Right.
is.
Yeah.
Like he's not a well-rounded person. He is just Batman
completely
wearing a
singular.
Bruce
He's
Wayne mask
obsessive.
sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's why I think the opening of the movie betrays the first two movies and sets the tone of a movie that just doesn't really have a message the way that the first two kind of did. Like it's off-brand at that point.
I don't know what else you could do to fix this movie besides kill Batman. Like, I don't think there's any other way to end this movie and end this trilogy
Without making it, that's the most powerful way to end it.
Here's my
It's
question.
not only the most powerful, it's the only correct way.
Right.
Let's say the movie is exactly as it is, except Batman does die.
That
How does that
helps
feel?
a lot for me.
Raises its credibility.
Yeah, because
a lot.
then like you do have the moment, like, because I do like the idea, like I liked the moments between Alfred and Bruce. Like Alfred didn't want to see the Wayne family end this way. And like even like the Alfred's ugly cry at the graveyard was sort of like touching in its own way. But then like they betray that immediately.
Even Selena, like Selena's comments about like you've given enough,
Right?
Like stop.
Like, all of those had built to that idea. So if they had actually killed him, yes, it's a very flawed story. But I think I'm willing to ignore a lot of the flaws of that story because the message, as much as it had like went a couple different places it didn't need to, it still stayed on focused on the idea of him having to be the symbol to Gotham. Because then you have the statue and everything.
Yeah.
That's
It's the easiest way to fix this movie.
Yeah.
It is
Well,
the
just right
easiest
there,
way.
that movie feels better just with that one change, and the rest of the movie is still deeply flawed and doesn't make any sense. Like, and that's all. Like,
But it's satisfying.
right, exactly. We at least get the payoff at the end.
Right.
I think that one adjustment there, and if the opening Batman was still active, but
That would help
but
a
was
lot.
being hunted by the police instead of
Yeah.
like. He fully
being
retired.
Bruce
Like
Wayne,
he couldn't be out in public for too long because people would cops would chase him, and this would happen all the time. Bane shows up and breaks him, and that like if that's it, and that's not even really dramatically redoing that many scenes shot. Like we're actually talking about reshoots at that point, not even full fledged like from start to finish remake. That movie is still better, even with the giant plot holes and like awkwardness of the bomb and Talia and Bane not being really Bane, and and Catwoman being shoehorned in there, and like all these things going on in this movie that just doesn't, it just failed.
Well, shoot, Batman dying, you don't have to reshoot anything. All you have to do is show that empty table in Paris.
Yeah,
Like that's all you need.
Fuck, man.
That's a so much more hollow like moment, but there's still
But there's still
something to
hope
it,
also
yeah.
with then cutting back to
John Blake.
Robin,
whatever
Yeah.
his name is,
Yeah.
in the Batcave.
Yeah.
Look,
yeah, those are like
recognizing that he
And
could take
I
up
wasn't-
that mantle
I
and
wasn't
that
crazy
symbol.
about that.
Well, no,
but
you
it
weren't
was-
crazy about that
Yeah.
because Batman didn't die.
Right.
But if
Yeah.
Batman dies
And
and you
someone
see
takes it up,
somebody
but-
else taking up the symbolism of Batman,
That's true.
Now
Also, we
all
didn't
of a
see
sudden
the
it
costumes.
works.
Yeah, that's true.
So I had a bunch of friends who worked on it in a bunch of different cities, and a few of them knew a bit more about the story beforehand and told me about it beforehand. So the
really?
Robin thing, I was completely aware of 100% before I even like walked into the theater or saw too many commercials. Like it
Yeah.
was like, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's going to be Robin.
I think
Okay,
everyone
that's fine.
kind of expected him.
A
to be
lot of
kind
people
a
expected
Robin.
it. Like,
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
fact,
that
some
wasn't
people
a
were like, "He's
well-kept
John
secret.
Blake, what?"
Yeah.
But like, I knew how it was going to play out at the very end
Yeah.
with that
And
whole
it was
scene.
kind of amalgamation of like several different Robins.
Yeah.
minus
His background.
tights.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
none of them were acrobats.
Right. I guess he was closest to Jason Todd. Like, if
Yeah, I
Jason
thought-
Todd was just like in an orphanage and actually grew up to be a good kid eventually.
Yeah.
Like, it would have
It
been
was a
better.
weird choice.
It was weird just to not do it. Like,
Yeah.
all these are weird
It was a total dick tease.
It was a dick move.
Yeah.
A Dick Grayson move.
Well, I think it's funny because I don't understand why he needed the feeling to like why he felt he needed to hold back on that reveal. Like it doesn't add any real surprise. Like I'm like I never felt like, oh damn, that's Robin, when all of a sudden he says his
Yeah.
name, his real name.
My name is Robin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, not to mention that no character has ever been named Robin.
yeah.
But
it was a weird choice.
But he was Robin in role long before. Like if
Yeah.
the fact that your real name is Robin is so dumb.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
It's a
And
little
that
too on the
orphan look in
nose.
the eye.
It's
Yeah.
a little too on the nose.
Yeah.
Which is surprising for Nolan. Like, he's not really known for.
He has the appearance of being complex, but he's not nearly as subtle as I think.
No, but he's not usually that on the nose. Either.
Interstellar.
Wasn't that on the nose?
This could be the beginning of the end.
Yeah, like I made after Dark Knight Rises, and I came to terms with how bad that movie was because I tried to convince myself it was a really good movie.
Well, you
for
loved
a
that
while.
movie when we first saw it.
Yeah, because
And I was like,
yeah,
I don't know.
And like as I thought about it, it was like really bad. And I went to see it again. I was like, oh, I like this movie. And then as time went on, I was like, no, that was a really, really, really bad movie.
Yeah, like when I came out of it, because again, watched it all three in a row after working a full day, and I think I was pretty drunk at this point. Like we had like brought in like booze into the theater, and went through all three of them, getting drunker and drunker and drunker. It was. Coming out of the movie, I was like delirious and just like in this weird place. And I'm like, I think I like this. I understand why people don't like this. I don't know what's going on. Where's my brain? And the next day, I'm like, oh, I'm hungover. Did I like it? Good. I don't know.
I always felt I wished they had killed him. I did always feel that.
Well, you went into the movie like swearing that they were going to kill Batman.
Of course.
And I told you flat. I swear to God, we would have this argument every day. Case he was like, they're going to kill Batman in this movie. It's the only way that this whole story can end because he's a symbol, and the only way that you can make the symbol live on is to kill the hero so that somebody else can pick up the symbol. And they're going to do this. And I said to him, I swear, it's Batman.
Yeah.
DC is never going to let you kill Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen.
Like
It really
they
is.
really should allow that for this story because it's the complete conclusion of the story.
It's a complete conclusion of this story. You're absolutely right. But the nature of the way comics books works is we're perpetually in the second act. We're never allowed to get to the third act where there's a real resolution and completion of the story. And so they're not going to let you do that because that's the only way that you can continue to have Batman stories.
Yep.
Yeah, but the problem is that the Dark Knight is actually the break into three in terms of like the larger story arc, because like the second act of Batman is him being Batman and the status quo of Batman fighting all the different bad guys and cleaning up Gotham, and then the break into three is like, oh, now the stakes are raised and things are actually going to come down crashing on you. So the Dark Knight is that break into three, and then Dark Knight Rises should have been the conclusion of this all.
From a movie standpoint and from a trilogy standpoint, absolutely. But DC as a comic book company,
oh yeah, I completely understand what you're saying.
Get that.
Yeah,
didn't understand that at that point in time.
I completely understand what you're saying, and I 100% agree. It's just dumb that they wouldn't allow that to happen.
Yes.
Right.
Because if they had, the movie would have been so much better.
Yeah. Just that one change would have made us all feel way more satisfied about it. And I think that's the thing. We've pinpointed it's an awkward beginning that feels betraying of everything, and an ending that is unsatisfying for the three movies that we just subjected ourselves to. And the first two have this one strong through line and theme that then the final one just completely misses that boat, but seems to espouse it up until the very end. It feels like it pulls back right at the end. Right. And that sucks.
Yeah, again, that pulling back right at the end, because like they have you for a moment, they make you think it, and then I don't think it's even 5 minutes before they reveal that he's still alive. Like,
no, maybe a minute and a half of actual movie time.
Right.
But I feel like we're just beating a dead horse right now. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in to another pass. Next week, we'll be talking about Highlander 2, The Quickening. Thanks, guys, and stay scruffy, my nerf herders.
Thanks for listening to Certain Point of View's Another Pass podcast. Don't miss an episode. Just subscribe and review the show on iTunes. Just go to certainpov.com.